Good morning, Boker Tov. It's good to be here with you this morning. Please do go ahead and share a greeting as you come in. It's wonderful to be here on this Friday morning here together on Boker Tov. It's good to see everybody streaming in as the wording goes. And so to one, to all, Boker Tov, Boker O. Welcome to Boker Tov from Temple Sinai. Temple Sinai congregation of Toronto's daily opportunity to connect, to reflect, and to remember. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning on this Friday morning. And good morning, Annette and Eleanor and everyone who's here with us today. Looking forward to spending this time together to kind of look within during our service as well as in words. I want to look a little bit without as I do on Friday mornings. But first things first, we'll kind of ground ourselves in the meaning of the day. I hope that you're feeling well today and that all is going well as we get ready for the Shabbat Zachor, the Shabbat before Pesach. Um, and so let's start by connecting to that sense of gratitude for sleeping, for awakening on this particular day. Please join me in the Hebrew and the English. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam bechokma, uvaravo nekavim nekavim, chalulim chalulim, galui v'yadua lifnei chisech vodecha, שאם ייפתח אחד מהם, או ייסתם אחד מהם, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני, רופא כל בשר, ומפליא לעשות. Blessed eternal God, creator of the universe, you have fashioned our bodies with wisdom, creating within us a finely balanced network. To stand before you in prayer is itself a fragile miracle. Eternal God, we praise you as the healer of body and spirit. Now let's go on to our prayer for the soul. The soul that you have given me, O God, is a pure one. You have created and formed it, breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. So long as my soul is within me, I will give thanks to you, eternal my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. We praise you, eternal God, in whose hand is the power of all life and the spirit of all flesh. And let's join together, Lasok b'divrei Torah, in expressing our commitment to and our gratitude for the opportunity to learn. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, וערב נא אדוני אלוהינו את דברי תורתך בפינו ובפי עמך בית ישראל, ונהיה אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאי עמך בית ישראל, כולנו יודעי שמך ולמדי תורתך לשמה. ברוך אתה אדוני, המלמד תורה לעמו ישראל. אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור. These are the obligations whose value cannot be measured. They nourish us in this world and help us to create the world to come. Kibud av va'em, to honor fathers and mothers. Ugmilut chasadim, to perform acts of love and kindness. Vashkamat bet midrash shacharit v'yaruvit, to attend the house of study morning and evening. Vachnasat ochim, to welcome the stranger. Ubikur cholim, to visit the sick. V'hachnasat kala, to provide for brides and grooms. Ulvayat hamet, to keep faith with the dead. V'yun tfilah, to pray with sincerity. V'havaat shalom ben adam l'chavero, to make peace when there is strife. V'talmud Torah keneged kulam, and the study of Torah is equal to them all. Well, let's continue our time together this morning with Psalm 121, our psalm for journeys. I do want to share with you yesterday about my journey to Ottawa yesterday to participate in a government forum against anti-Semitism. And I think there's an ongoing journey for each of us uh, in these times that is reflected to some degree in it. Uh, and so please join me in Baruch She'amar in Hebrew and English, and then Psalm 121. Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Blessed is the one who speaks that we might listen. Blessed is the one who acts that we might be witnesses. Baruch hu u'baruch shemo. Blessed is the one who decides that we might accept. Blessed is the one who has mercy that we might live. Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Blessed is the one who removes the darkness that we might see. Blessed is the one who lives forever that we might believe. Blessed is the one who saves and delivers that we might be redeemed. And we continue Shir Lemalot Esainai Ele Harim, trying always in our journeying, excuse me, trying always in our journeying to look upward. I will look only upward past the mountains, for my help comes from the one beyond. My help comes from the eternal, maker of heaven and earth. Ever alert, your guardian will never allow your foot to stumble. The guardian of Israel never rests, never sleeps. The eternal will watch over you as a shadow cast by your right hand. You will not be overcome by the sun, nor abandoned by the moon. The eternal will guard you from all evil, watching over you. The eternal will guard you as you set out and as you return from this very moment until the end of time. And with that in mind, let's join together in Shema Yisrael, in these words that bind us to our past, our present, and our future, as well as that connect to our people throughout the world, being aware not only of the oneness of God, the oneness of the divine, but our own unity as well, our people connected to one another throughout the world. Please join me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavecha, uvechol nafshecha, uvechol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam. ושבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Well, it's wonderful to be here with you this morning as we get ready for this Shabbat before Purim, a Shabbat that is focused on the story of Purim, which we may think of as a children's holiday, but in fact is not that at all. In fact, is a holiday whose historical focus is on the reality of anti-Semitism, the reality of those who would describe us as something different, something other, and something not just to be attacked, mistreated, etc., but as something worthy of those behaviors. That's really what anti-Semitism is about, not just about negative statements or criticizing, but the larger suggestion, the larger implication that we are somehow worthy, deserving of this awful treatment. Yesterday, I spent the day in Ottawa with an interesting collection of individuals brought together by our federal government to take part in a day-long forum against anti-Semitism. There were a few other rabbis there as well, but it wasn't rabbis, of course, who were primarily part of this gathering. There were community activists from the Jewish community, whether from the Alliance of Canadians Combating Anti-Semitism to CEJA, the Canadian, our Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, which is our really the advocacy arm of the Jewish community in Canada, so named, with individuals from Friends of Simon Wiesenthal and B'nai B'rith, and many such organizations. There was a huge number of individuals from the various police services in Canada, whether local police services. I saw Captain Demku, the head of Toronto Police Services, was there together with the head of the Ottawa Police Services and many others, as well as high-ranking individuals from the RCMP. There were politicians there of various kinds, most of them, many of them, I should say, federal liberal politicians, members of the government. While also there were some local politicians as well. In fact, Mayor Del Duca from Vaughan was there, and he very much distinguished himself among the political class as those who spoke out about concrete types of action that can be taken to change the reality of the anti-Semitic experiences that our community goes through here in today's Canada. A statistic that was raised significantly and a number of times in the day was that 70% of the religion-based hate crimes in Canada are aimed at members of the Jewish community, even though the Jewish community of Canada makes up roughly 1% of the population of the country. That no one was there to question the reality and the essential nature of the problem of anti-Semitism in today's Canada, especially 516 days after the October 7th terrorist attack on Israel. An attack, when it was mentioned, including by the Prime Minister, who came and spoke, was, of course, roundly and clearly condemned. Prime Minister Trudeau came and spoke in the morning. He didn't stay nor interact with the individuals there, but at the same time, he came and made a speech that reflected some of the points that he's made in the past that are most desired or by the Jewish community, saying that anti-Zionism is the new form of anti-Semitism, that no one should be afraid to be a Zionist or to be identified as a Zionist in today's Canada, saying of himself, understanding Zionism properly as the movement that demands self-determination for the Jewish people, just as other peoples have that same right. He said he identified himself saying, "I am a Zionist." Unfortunately, none of these statements are new. That he made a number of these statements, and it was the current government that apparently 11 weeks ago decided that this gathering should take place. people were seated at a table that had individuals with a variety of experiences, and I found that valuable. So I was seated, for example, with a police detective from Ottawa, one of the associate chiefs or directors of the RCMP, with the Eastern Canada coordinator of B'nai B'rith, with a Jewish and Jewish studies or cultural and religion studies professor from Concordia University, and with another individual from Toronto who works with the Alliance of Canadians Combating Anti-Semitism, and myself. So it was meaningful to hear of the different levels and commitments and the different experiences of what it is that is and can be done to counter anti-Semitism in Canada today. At the same time, as is the nature of such things, I felt very much like we were a backdrop, that we were present for the government to make statements about the essential nature of what needs to be done, even though so much of what needs to be done had been identified long ago. Erwin Kotler was due to speak during the lunch session, but due to a recent medical procedure that he had, he spoke by recorded video rather than in person. And he talked about the importance of an emergency forum for anti-Semitism. In fact, he talked about one that he ran and attended as Minister of Justice in 2021. So these items and these issues are not new. What will be interesting to see if it's new is the willingness of government and government agencies to stand with and for the Jewish community of Canada, to stand against this particular hatred, and to do so in a way that is real and effective, and among many who oppose our community, that identifies them as the problem that they are, rather than thinking that anytime one stands up to anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist rhetoric that one is opposing free speech, an absurd charge projected by the villains in this circumstance on those they seek to victimize. It was an interesting day, and it was interesting to meet people from different walks of life involved in the fight against anti-Semitism, as we are, as all of us are. It will be interesting to see, having identified clearly in statements at this gathering, that comparisons of Jews and Zionists to Nazis, or blanket statements that Zionists, which seems to represent over 90% of the Jewish population of Canada, should be compared, should be themselves accused of crimes or of moral impairments of any kind. Such statements are hate speech rather than protected speech. And to see whether our community is able to step forward here in Toronto and to oppose those who engage in this kind of speech will be a real marker. I wish I were more optimistic. The Jewish police detective from Ottawa I was sitting next to described how they have been much more aggressive and successful recently at bringing arrests, at arresting those who violate these laws and restrictions. And as a result, the protests have diminished there. I wonder if the same courage and the same lining up of the political class with the policing forces will be able to happen here in Toronto as well. While the Prime Minister came, there was otherwise a real distinction of talking about public safety here in Canada without talking about the positions taken by our federal government on international issues, and how the way in which they take those positions contribute to this problem. That was missing, and it concerned me that it was missing from this gathering. I wish I was more optimistic that this gathering would make a difference. Eventually, it seems in the late days of a prime minister's career and of a particular formulation of a federal government, a desire to try to demonstrate at least that they are trying to do something and not so in such an effective way. Um, I will certainly say more in different venues about it at Temple, but it just makes me that much more committed that we as a community and each of us as leaders and individuals need to be resolute in working with local partners who are actually allies and standing with and for our community during this difficult time. As I mentioned, Purim has themes of anti-Semitism, but it has fun themes as well. And I've just placed in the chat the link for our Bring Your Own Bagel breakfast gathering after today's Boker Tov, which has a Purim and funny hats theme today. I want to encourage everybody to please join, except I accidentally shared that only with myself. It must be Purim. So here it is. I'm now going to share it with all of you. And having done so, let us continue with our prayer for the soldiers of the IDF, who wear not a costume, but rather who dress proudly as those who would stand against terrorists and evildoers in these difficult days for the benefit of all citizens of the State of Israel, of the Jewish Democratic State of Israel. Please join me. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ואמותינו שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל, ויברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל ושאר מגיני עמנו העומדים על משמרתם. ישמרם הקדוש ברוך הוא ויצילם מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה בכל מעשה ידיהם. ויקוים בהם הכתוב, וכיתתו חרבותיהם לעתים, וחניתותיהם למזמרות, לא יישאו גוי אל גוי חרב, ולא ימדון עוד מלחמה, וישבו איש תחת גפנו, ותחת תאנתו, ואין מחריד ונאמר, Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless the soldiers of the IDF and all who stand in guard for us. May the Holy One guard them against all difficulty and distress, injury, and illness. May all of their actions bring blessing, fulfilling the prophet's words. Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Let nation not lift up sword against nation, and may they learn war no more. May all sit under a vine or fig tree, with none to make them afraid, and together we say, Amen. We join now in our prayers for those in need of healing, for those in our circle of family and friends immediately around us who are unwell or ill or injured or isolated. And for those likewise in our community, those names that have been given to me and given to Temple. And of course, as the days tick forward on this 517th day of their criminal captivity, we pray for the release of the hostages, for their strength, and we stand with all those of goodwill who stand against this ongoing crime against humanity committed anew each and every day. So for those names that have been given to me and given to Temple, for all in need, and for those in the chat in this and other services, we turn to these words of refuah. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ואמותינו שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל, הוא ירפא את כל מכותינו. יהי רצון מלפניך אדוני אלוהינו, לחל עמם לרפאותם, וישלח לנו מהרה רפואה שלמה ותרת שלום, ונאמר Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless and heal all who suffer. May it be the divine will to provide healing and strength. Reveal to us the holiness of life, the wholeness of shalom, and let us say together, Amen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here together with you in the morning to connect and reflect. And now we have the opportunity to remember, recalling those who died in recent days and weeks, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. During the past 30 days, the period of Shloshim. We extend our condolences to the families of Sharon Rosen, Sam Marr, Stephen Diamond, Irving Goldberg, Helene Newman, Michael Lander, Joy Lowenstein, Ian Hart, Rose Weinstock. And we also remember all victims of war and terror, including terror victims Shili Bibas, Ariel Bibas, Kfir Bibas, Hassan Karim Dahamshe, Yitzhak Elgarat, Oded Lifshitz, Ohad Yahalomi, Shlomo Mansour, Tzachi Idan. And on your those likewise those IDF soldiers whose lives have been lost in the last 30 days. We honor the sacrifice and stand with the families of Avram Tzvika Friedman, Ofer Jung, Nadav Cohen, Nachman Rafael Ben-Ami, Liam Chazi. And on your site, on the anniversary of their deaths, on this 7th day of the month of Adar, the 7th of March, 2025, and this day that is traditionally the Yahrzeit of Moses. It's considered that date. And so therefore, in modern times in Israel, it has become the Yahrzeit, since Moses' burial place is unknown, a day to honor deceased soldiers whose place of burial is unknown. And so we include them and their families in our prayers today, as well as honoring on Yahrzeit the life and legacy of Joy Andrews, Jack Barkin, Emil Ecker, Sylvia Gold, Marge Goldberg, Ricky Linzen, Beryl Morehouse, Israel Shapira, Francis Sherman, Morris Singer, Max Wilder, Ida Wise. Zichronam Levracha, may their memories be a blessing to us. Our griefs and our sympathies are mingled as we turn together to words sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemet rabba, be'alma divrach cheruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman karev yemu, amen. Yehe shemet rabba mevorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and bring comfort and strength to all who remember. And together we say, Amen. Again, one more time, there's the link for our Bring Your Own pre-Purim bagel breakfast. And this morning before we go, it is with gratitude that we acknowledge that a contribution has been made to the Rabbi's Discretionary Fund by Ann Morehouse, observing Yahrzeit for Beryl Morehouse, and that a contribution has been made to the Minyan Fund by Bonnie Singer and family, observing Yahrzeit for Morris Singer. Happy birthday, Joni, and wishing you all a meaningful day and a Shabbat Shalom. Boker Tov.